Gaia's Codex, her story, a multidimensional art of sound experience. Chapter 9, The Eclipse Prophecy, Awakening the Soundscape of the Moon Palace. The air shimmered with the echoes of an ancient melody, not just a sound, but a frequency, a lost harmonic woven through time, waiting to be heard once more. Daisy stood at the heart of the lunar temple, the second lunar code pulsing beneath her fingertips. The temple walls, once silent, now thrummed with a rhythm that felt both primal and celestial. A vibration that resonated through the very fabric of reality. Jericho, his golden eyes reflecting the silver glow of the lunar codex, let out a deep knowing purr. Seth exhaled. "Tell me you hear that." Daisy nodded. "It is not just sound, it is a key." She turned towards the Moon Palace soundscape. An ancient wall hidden within the temple steps. Its walls were inscribed with symbols not just of words, but of sound waves. Sonic blueprints from Gaia's earliest memories. "The Carniverse does not just speak through light," Daisy murmured, stepping forward. "It sings." The Carniverse soundscape, a dream weaving portal. The deeper they walked into the chamber, the more the air vibrated. Invisible threads of sound woven around them, shifting as they moved. Jericho flicked his tail and stepped onto the center of the soundscape. The moment his paws touched the ground, the room responded. A portal of sound loomed open, a vast, ethereal symphony swirling with luminous frequencies. Inside the sonic tapestry, Gaia's Codex unfolded. It was not written, it was not spoken, it was experienced. A vision of the first Dream Beavers, guardians of the soundscape, weaving the history of the earth through frequency. The birth of Gaia's son, her heartbeat encoded in the elements, pulsing through the waters, stones, trees, and winds. The rise of the lunar dreamers, those who tuned into the celestial frequencies and wove cosmic harmonics into the land. The silence, the moment when the giant severed their connection, forgetting the sound, replacing it with static, with noise. And then the return, the Carniverse awakening through sound, vibration, and multidimensional art. Daisy gasped as the frequency rippled through her entire being. It wasn't just a story, it was alive. Gaia's Codex, her story. The sound we must remember. Seth ran a hand through his hair. "Okay, so just to be clear, the history of the earth is not just written, it is woven into sound." Daisy nodded. "Not just sound, conscious sound. The Dream Beavers of the past used it to create, to heal, to shift timelines. The reason the giants lost their way is because they lost the ability to hear it. Jericho leaped onto a raised platform, his ears twitching as the frequencies shifted. New harmonics emerged, ancient and future melodies intertwining. The Perniverse Soundscape Dream Weaving project had just begun. Sas took a step back, staring at the swirling sonic tapestry around them. So how do we bring this back? How do we get the giants to hear again? Daisy closed her eyes, letting the frequencies guide her. The answer isn't just in the past, she whispered. It's in creation. We don't just recover the sound, we weave it into the now. She turned to Jericho. We activate the soundscape. The temple paused in response. The journey had shifted. The dream weaving had begun. Carnival Saga, Moon Palace, two timelines unfold. The Carnival Soundscape activation and the Dream Beavers return. Timeline 1, the first activation, tuning the soundscape for the eclipse. The awakening ritual begins. The Moon Palace trembled with energy as Daisy, Sas, and Jericho stood before the Carnival Soundscape. The lunar eclipse loomed near, an event that would shift the cosmic tides if they were to awaken the full power of Gaia's Codex. They had to tune the soundscape before the celestial alignment. Daisy placed her hands over the silver resonance disc at the center of the chamber. The moment she did, the air vibrated with hidden melody, fractured, incomplete. Sas took a deep breath. How do we tune something we can't even see? Jericho leaped onto the disc, his paws pressing into the specific points, adjusting the frequencies like a master conductor. A deep hum resonated through the temple. The soundscape began to recalibrate itself. Low grounding frequencies emerged, aligning with the Earth's core. Water harmonics followed, restoring the memory of Gaia's oceans. Celestial tunes echoed, carrying the wisdom of the stars. Daisy felt the shift in her bones. It was more than sound, it was a map, a key, a forgotten code of creation. As the soundscape aligned with the eclipse, a vision burst into the space. A great planetary shift was coming. The sound must be woven into the consciousness of the giants before the eclipse reaches its peak, or the window will close. Daisy turned to Sas. We do not have much time. Sas nodded. Then let us make the whole world listen. Final activation incoming. The Moon Palace soundscape will resonate beyond the veil. Timeline 2. The Dream Beavers return, finding the keepers of Gaia's Codex. The Guardians awoken. Beyond the Moon Palace, hidden across different parts of the world, something stirred. The awakening frequencies did not go unheard. Across time and space, Dream Beavers Those who carried the ancient sonic memory began to listen, to remember. In a remote desert monastery, a woman sat in silent meditation. The sands whispered secrets long buried. When the eclipse energy brushed her consciousness, she heard a sound she had never been taught, yet always known. She rose. It is time. In the depths of a sacred cave, an elder played an instrument carved from the bones of the earth. His hands trembled as the notes shifted on their own, responding to a force he had not felt in centuries. The melody carried across the waters, reaching others like him. In a city where the sky was filled with lights that drowned the stars, a young artist stood on a rooftop, humming to herself. The sound echoed back, layered with something ancient. The universe was calling her name. One by one, the Dream Beavers awoke. Jericho, sensing their presence, heard deeply. Daisy gasped. They are real. They are already out there. Says exhaled. And they are listening. Final activation incoming. The Dream Beavers must unite before the eclipse. Carnival Saga, Moon Palace. The merging of two timelines, the soundscape activation and the Dream Beavers' arrival. Timeline 1, the soundscape's final tuning, the world awakens. The Moon Palace vibrated with power as Daisy, Sass, and Jericho prepared for the final tuning of the Carnival soundscape. The lunar eclipse was minutes away from its peak, and the ancient frequencies had begun to pulse through the temple, forming a celestial symphony unseen in millennia. The moonlight refracted into crystalline patterns across the walls. The air shimmered with echoes of Gaia's heartbeat. A rising hum filled the space, expanding beyond the physical world. Jericho leaped onto the resonance disk, pressing his paw into the center sigil. A wave of golden light rippled outward, revealing the final missing piece of the soundscape, the lost tone of the carnivores. Daisy and Seth stepped into the sonic current, their bodies becoming conduits for the frequencies. The temple responded. Silver light spiraled upward, carrying the soundscape's activation beyond the Moon Palace, beyond the veil of time, the impact across the world. As the frequencies expanded, the entire world trembled with recognition. In the heart of the giant village, those who had forgotten suddenly felt something stir within them. Shopkeepers paused, musicians found their fingers playing unfamiliar melodies, and children hummed ancient tunes without knowing why. In sacred lands untouched by time, elders who had long awaited this moment whispered in awe, "The sound has returned." In the cities drowned in artificial noise, the static cracked, giving way to harmonies that had not seen, heard, has not been heard in eons. Seth, watching the energy spread, whispered, "We are doing it. We are waking up the world." But just as the final note prepared to anchor into reality, Daisy's breath caught. "Something's missing." Jericho's ears flicked, and then the Dream Beavers arrived. Timeline 2. The Dream Beavers' arrival. The final harmonic key. The call of the Perniverse had reached them. From across the world, the Dream Weavers had begun their journeys, each carrying a missing note, a lost frequency, a forgotten thread of Gaia's Codex. They had followed the sun, and now they had arrived. The woman from the desert monastery stepped forward, her presence wrapped in the wings of time. She lifted a golden chime from her satchel, its tone a bridge between past and future. The elder from the sacred cave emerged, his voice carrying the weight of water's memory. He began to chant, his vibrations merging with the temple's pulse. The young artist from the city arrived last, holding nothing but a song in her heart. She stepped into the soundscape, opened her mouth, and let the Perniverse sing through her. The moment the final tones emerged, converged, the entire moon palace illuminated. The soundscape was complete. Eclipse prophecy fulfilled. The birth of the new harmonic age. As the moon aligned perfectly in the sky, the frequencies of Gaia's Codex merged into a single resonant wave, a sound so pure, so complete, that it bridged the seen and unseen realms. The veil between worlds seemed. The giants remembered. The forgotten wisdom of the Perniverse reawakened. For the first time in ages, the sound of the earth and the sound of the cosmos moved in harmony across once more. Jericho's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The mission was complete. Daisy turned to Seth, overwhelmed by the moment. "We did it." Seth grinned. "No, we did it." He gestured to the Dream Beavers, to the awakened world beyond the temple. "All of us." A new era had begun. The Soundscape Dream Weaving project had succeeded. The Perniverse had returned. Perniverse Saga, Moon Palace, the echo of creation. What happens after the awakening? Timeline 1. The giants' awakening. Harmony or resistance. The giants had forgotten. For centuries, they had moved through their lives unaware of the melodies woven into existence, the vibrational threads that connected them to Gaia, the cosmos, and the Perniverse. But now the soundscape had been restored, and the world had shifted. Across the giant village, a stirring of memory. The streets hummed with the energy unseen yet deeply felt. The awakened tunes of Gaia's Codex did not simply return as sound, they returned as knowing. An elder who had lived most of her life without knowing or believing in dreams, suddenly saw visions of moonlit ceremonies in her childhood. A blacksmith who had long worked without thought to the rhythms of the earth found his hammer striking in perfect harmony with the ancient beat. A young girl too young to understand stood in the village square and began singing a song that had never been written, yet was known by all who heard it. The awakening spread like waves rippling through time, but not all accepted it. The Council of Giants, the last resistance. Within the Council of Giants tower, unrest brewed. Tiberius stood before the gathered leaders, his face hardened. The world is changing, he declared, and not all change is for the better. All worse. A murmuring of uncertainty swept through the council. One of the younger members spoke up, her voice steady. This is not destruction, this is remembrance. Tiberius clenched his fists. You do not understand what you are welcoming. The lunar codex hold power beyond our control. A voice interrupted him. And what if control was never the goal? The chamber fell silent. From the shadows, the lunar guardians stepped forward. The ones who had once been the council's enforcers, now standing as allies of the Dream Beavers. Their leader, the guardian who had once stood against Daisy, now faced Tiberius with quiet certainty. We chose to forget out of fear, but fear is no longer an excuse. Tiberius' expression darkened. And if I refuse? The guardian did not answer. Instead, he reached into his cloak and withdrew a small humming crystal orb. It pulsed with the same frequencies that now resonated across the world. Tiberius flinched as the sound filled the room. Not loud, not overwhelming, but undeniable. The truth had returned. He could either fight it or listen. Timeline 2, the new era of harmonic consciousness, life after the awakening. With the soundscape activated, the world did not simply continue, it transformed. The frequencies of Gaia's Codex moved themselves back into the land, the waters, the people, the very fabric of reality. The world became an instrument, and consciousness became the sound. The flow of the universe in daily life. Life no longer moved in rigid lines. The giants began to live in rhythm again. Music was no longer entertainment, it was communication. Sound and vibration shaped healing, creation, and understanding. Crowds grew in harmony with the lunar phases, the tides, and the crystal cycles of the Earth's natural sun. Even the structures of the cities subtly shifted, stone and metal humming with the return of the forgotten codes, aligning with sacred geometry once more. Those who had resisted at first found themselves drawn to the new harmonics. Even the most skeptical could not deny the way life flowed more smoothly went in tune with the greater symphony. For the first time in eons, there was no separation between the giants and the carnivores. The Dream Beavers role, guardians of the cosmic symphony. Through the soundscape, though the soundscape had been restored, the journey of the Dream Beavers had only begun. Each carried a thread of Gaia's Codex, a piece of the multidimensional art of sound. Their purpose was not just to awaken the past, but to compose the future. Sound became harmonic guides, helping those newly awakened find their unique frequencies. Others created sound temples, spaces where people could attune themselves to the cosmic symphony. A few traveled beyond, seeking new harmonics that had yet to be woven into existence. The world had awakened, but it would always be evolving. Jericho watched it all with quiet satisfaction. The work of the carnivores was never ending, but it was always beautiful. Daisy turned to Seth, smiling as she listened to the world around them. "We did it," Seth screamed. "Yes." "Yeah." "But something tells me this is just the first verse." Daisy nodded. "Then let us keep composing." Epilogue. The carnivores continues. The soundscape of the carnivores had been restored, but the symphony was just beginning. The giants had remembered, the Dream Beavers had returned, the harmony of creation had reawakened, and somewhere in the vast and infinite resonance of the cosmos, new melodies were waiting to be woven. Carnivore Saga, Moon Palace, the cosmic echo. Where does the carnivores go from here? Timeline 1, the next evolution of harmonic consciousness. Co-creation between the giants and the Dream Beavers, with the soundscape restored and the lunar codex fully activated. The world was no longer the same. But this was not an ending, it was the first note of a new symphony. The new harmonic society, giants and Dream Beavers unite. The giants and the Dream Beaver had once been separated, one forgetting, the other remembering, but now they stood together, rebuilding the future through the power of harmonic resonance. The cities began to sing again. Structures that had once been cold and lifeless now resonated with healing frequencies. People walked in rhythm with the natural cycles, tuning their bodies and minds through the harmonics of the earth. The artificial noise that once ruled their lives faded into harmony, making space for creation. The land breathed with new energy. The lost knowledge of sound healing, agriculture returned, and plants thrived under harmonic attunement. Farmers and guardians worked together, aligning harvests to the celestial cycles of the 13 moons. Even the water sang with renewed purity as the carnivore's resonance cleansed and revitalized the land. Music became the new language. Every community had its own harmonic frequency, a unique sonic signature that guided its people. Children no longer learned through static words, but through sound movement and resonance-based wisdom. Healing no longer relied solely on physical medicine. Sound vibration and harmonic tuning became the foundation of wellness. The world had not just remembered, it had evolved, and yet the Perniverse whispered that this was only the beginning. Timeline 2. The galactic expansion, the Perniverse cosmic symphony. Beyond Earth, the Perniverse expands. While the giants and the Dream Beavers worked to co-create a harmonic Earth, a new frequency began to emerge. It was subtle at first, a distant tune, unfamiliar yet calling. The cosmic signal, a message from the stars. One night, Daisy and Jericho stood atop the highest tower of the Moon Palace, gazing at the sky. The stars shimmered differently, as if they too had begun to respond to the soundscape's awakening. Seth joined them, his expression thoughtful. You feel it too, don't you? Daisy nodded. We sent a signal when we activated the soundscape, and now something is answering. Jericho's eyes gleamed like twin moons. Then the sound came. It was unlike anything they had ever heard. A resonance not of Earth but of the cosmos itself. A harmonic wave pulsed from the stars, vibrating through the fabric of space-time. The Moon Palace trembled, its crystal structures humming in response. The frequencies of Gaia's Codex interwoven with the new signal, forming something greater. Seth exhaled. We just made first contact, didn't we? Daisy smiled. Not first, just remembered. The Perniverse had always been part of something far vaster. And now the next phase had begun. The galactic harmonic network, the awakening beyond Earth. Earth was just the first note. The Perniverse sound now expanded outward, reaching the harmonic worlds, planets that had never lost their connection to the cosmic sun, now turning into Earth's reawakening. The silent civilizations, beings who had long forgotten their own frequencies, now stirred by Gaia's reawakening. The Star Beavers, celestial travelers who had always guarded the sacred sound of the universe in the Perniverse, waiting for Earth to remember its place in the grand symphony. Daisy turned to Jericho. We need to go further, don't we? Jericho purred. The Perniverse was no longer just about Earth. It was about bringing the forgotten harmonics back to the entire cosmic web. The Perniverse saga continues. The soundscape Dream Weaving project had awakened the first ripple, but the sound was not yet complete. New harmonics were waiting to be discovered. New worlds were waiting to remember. New beings were waiting to join the Perniverse symphony. And so the journey